might be starting a minute or two early, but I thought I would go ahead and go live so that I can give people a chance to get here and join tonight's live chat. The most popular answer in the poll that I took on when is the best time for you to participate in a live stream was Sunday evening. So I am trying this on Sunday evening to see how it goes. The last live stream I did was on a Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock my time, Central Time in the United States, and it did not get a very good turnout. The live has gotten a lot of views since it went live, but didn't get a good turnout at the time. So I'm trying Sunday evening because that's what most people said they could do. This is 7 o'clock p.m. my time, Central Time. So this is probably a little too late for people in the UK and Europe. My UK and Europe viewers, let me know if that's true, that this was too late for you. But it's 8 o'clock on the East Coast, 7 o'clock p.m. here in Central Time, 6 o'clock Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. on the West Coast. So if you are in North America, would you please let me know if this is too early, too late, or just right, and tell me where you live. That would help me out a lot. Okay, so 2 weeks ago, I posted a video titled 3 Cruise Lines That I Am Afraid to Try. And if you haven't watched that video yet, try to take some time to go back and watch it. And in that video, I am really focused on something I think is really important for people to understand, which is that it's very important that you choose a cruise line that matches your personality, and that some of the things that we hear about cruise lines aren't necessarily true. And sometimes I think people choose the cruise line that they go on, especially for their first cruise, for not necessarily the right reasons, if that makes sense. And I said in that video that if I got 25 likes on that video, which is a lot of likes for my videos at this point, I mean, unless they're older videos, they've been up for a long, long time, I would make another video telling you the cruise lines that I am most excited to try, that I'm really looking forward to trying. And then I decided, since I wanted to give a live chat another try here soon, I did a live stream, I think it's less than 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to try it at this time. I thought instead of making a video of the cruise lines that I want to try, we could do a live chat, and then we could hopefully, maybe if some of you have questions or stuff, I could go into that. So for the first little bit here, I'm going to share with you it's actually 5 cruise lines that I'm most excited to try. And then if we have questions and stuff, we can go to that after that. So if you do have questions, please do leave them in the chat and I will get to those. Okay, if you hear clicking in the background, that's just Ben. His desk and his computer and everything is right behind me. And so if you hear him typing or something, that's all that is. And I did figure out a little bit of a solution. I was worried about lighting doing a live here in the evening, but I found more light in my house that I forgot I had. And so actually this is okay. So it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, one thing I wanted to start with right away before I share the 5 cruise lines that I'm most excited to try is how many of you watch Life Well Cruised, the channel Life Well Cruised with Alana? I really like her channel. I think she does a really nice job with her videos and her information that she presents. And her video today was on 10 things that cruise line passengers are saying might make them stop cruising, or things that they really would reconsider going on a cruise or going on a particular cruise line if these things happened. And I thought that was a really interesting video. And I did leave a comment on that video, but a couple of things occurred to me afterwards that kind of go along with what I wanted to talk about today. One is all the things she talked about. I don't think it's just cruising that's seen that. I think a lot of the things she was talking about, which are basically could be summed up as you're not getting as much for your money. I think is really kind of what it is. Cutbacks in entertainment, cutbacks in food quality and food choice, cutbacks in services, less that you're getting and more that you're having to pay, more nickel and diming, more extra charges, all that kind of thing. I don't think it's just cruise lines where we're seeing this. I think this is in everything related to travel, and not just travel, but like everything all over the place. And what I mean is, I think it's very reflective of the economy. And, we as private citizens think about how everything's getting more expensive for us. Well, you got to remember, all the same stuff that's expensive for us is expensive for businesses too. You go and see that eggs are $5 for a thing of eggs which is because of bird flu, and because they've had to call a lot of the chickens, they all have bird flu, and they have to, try to control that. That's why eggs are so expensive right now. It's a supply issue. Eggs are expensive for the cruise lines too. Eggs are expensive for the restaurants, so stuff like that. I don't think it's necessarily limited to cruise lines, those things that people aren't pleased with seeing. I also noticed limited menu options at the table service restaurants at Walt Disney World when we were there in November. So I think some of these things that people aren't happy about are just reflective of the economy overall. And one of the things that I think is especially making it hard for cruise lines, and why they're trying to get money any way they can, basically, or save money any way they can, is because they had to borrow so much money, millions, billions of dollars during the pandemic just to stay in business. We did see several cruise lines go completely under and have to shut down, smaller ones, during the pandemic. And these larger cruise lines, all of them, they all had to borrow millions, if not billions of dollars just to stay in business during the pandemic. And now those loans are coming due and they have to pay all that back. So keep that in mind when you're seeing these cutbacks and extra charges and things with cruising, because I really think that's the biggest reason for it. And because of that, I'm optimistic that these will not be permanent changes, that they will be they're temporary, related to the financial circumstances that are happening right now. And then, speaking of finances, one thing I wanted to mention too was I did my taxes yesterday. And if any of you are specifically interested in how taxes work with YouTube, leave me a question about that in the chat. Or if you're watching this later, leave it down in the comments below, because it's interesting for me to learn how to deal with taxes and everything as a YouTube creator and making money. Ben and I did kind of an analysis, because we both earn money from YouTube, and actually they're on the same Google AdSense account right now because Ben is still under 18. So we have to share a Google AdSense account. Ben's been making money from YouTube for 3+ years now. And I just started earning money from YouTube in June of 2022. So we were doing kind of a financial analysis and everything about our YouTube earnings and how it affects our taxes and things like that. And it was quite interesting. There were some interesting things that we realized and discovered. So if you have any questions about that, if you're interested in how YouTube works and how, with money and taxes and stuff, leave those in the chat too. That was just something I thought of because I just did that yesterday. So, okay. So let me get to the 5 cruise lines that I'm most excited to try. And I have these in alphabetical order. So that's why they're in the order they are. And I guess the thing that I'm noticing when I look at what they are, and especially if you compare them to the 3 cruise lines that I talked about in that video, 3 cruise lines I'm most afraid to try, is that I think it's reflective of 2 things. One is my age and the age of my family, my kids. I'm 50 and my kids are basically all adults now. I mean, Ben's still under 18, but he's, these are big people. When I say my kids, you tend to say your kids, even when you're, my dad still says I'm his kid. So, but I mean, your kids are always your kids, but your kids might be adults. So that kind of changes, when I talk about my kids, and I know I look a lot younger than I am, yay. But I'm not talking about little toddlers and preschoolers or elementary kids or anything anymore. These are big people. So our age reflects our interests in what cruise lines we want to try. And the other thing I would say is I'm noticing that as I get older, I'm more interested in a higher level of service and experience. I'm not so much interested in roughing it anymore. You know, if I can afford it, I would rather have a nicer level of service, a nicer accommodations, a nicer experience. So all of the cruise lines on my list of the 5 cruise lines I most want to try are premium cruise lines. And one's actually considered an upper premium cruise line. I couldn't really tell you my opinion about luxury cruise lines, true luxury cruise lines. Some people make the mistake of thinking a couple of these on my list here today are luxury cruise lines, and they're not. None of them are. But I don't know enough about any of the luxury cruise lines to really give an opinion on them. And I really don't know if I'll ever be able to afford them, honestly. I hope I can someday, but so this is like really a step up for me as it is anyway. Okay, so the first one I'm most excited to try is Celebrity. I've had my eye on Celebrity for a long time. I will tell you the first time I remember thinking I really wanted to go on Celebrity. It was 2002, October of 2002. I was on Royal Caribbean's Explorer of the Seas on my honeymoon, which at the time was a very new ship and was very nice. And it was my first time going on Royal Caribbean. But we were docked next to, I don't know where we were docked. It was an Eastern Caribbean cruise. We went to Puerto Rico, St. Martin, someplace else. I don't really remember. But we were docked right next to a Celebrity ship. I think it was probably the oldest class, the one that the Summit and that are in, that level of ship. And I remember our ship was bigger. So the Explorer of the Seas is the Voyager class of Royal Caribbean. So it's the Mariner, the Adventurer, the Voyager, the Navigator, which we're going on next. You know, those. And those are tiny compared to Royal Caribbean's. They have 2 classes bigger. The Freedom class is bigger than those, and the Oasis class is bigger than those, and the Icon's class is going to be bigger yet. But at the time, the Explorer of the Seas was way bigger than the Celebrity ship that we were docked next to. But I was looking down on the Celebrity, whatever ship it was, I don't remember which one it was. And I looked at it and I was just, I was seeing what it was like and everything. And I could see some of the passengers and everything on their pool deck. And I thought, boy, that looks really nice. And I just thought it looked nicer than what I was on. Now, if you don't know, Celebrity and Royal Caribbean are actually the same company. The same company, Royal Caribbean Group, owns Royal Caribbean and Celebrity. So Celebrity is Royal Caribbean's premium cruise line. And, but I just remember it just looked really nice. And I remember thinking I would really like to try that. But then right shortly after that, I was in the having babies and little kids stage. And Celebrity was not an appropriate cruise line for me to be taking my little children on. And my husband and I never went on a cruise, just the 2 of us, ever again. And then I got divorced. So I never got to try Celebrity. And now that my kids are older, I think that Celebrity would appeal to them because Celebrity is kind of scooching down a little bit in its demographic. Although going back to Life Well Cruised and Alana, she also just recently made a video about Celebrity, was it Edge, that they just went on, and which is the newest class of Celebrity cruise ships. And she said that the passenger makeup on that cruise was really varied. There was, lots of young adults in their like 20s, but all the way to people in their 70s and everything in between. So she said Celebrity really doesn't have an age group that it's really kind of going for. But with wanting to try Celebrity, that video that I just referenced from Life Well Cruised about that ship and that class of ship, which is the Edge and Beyond, maybe they were on the Beyond. I don't remember. But, on those, she pointed out a couple of reasons. I've been hesitant about those ships anyway, in those newest Celebrity ships, because I just think that like flying carpet thing on the side, it's I just think it's kind of gimmicky and it's not necessary and it looks weird and I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily as efficient for its dual purpose as people might think it is. And then also, she pointed out that those ships oh, I'm sorry, I gotta back up. I don't like the infinite veranda staterooms. Now, she and her husband really loved it, but I've heard a lot more people who've made videos about it and things that really don't like those infinite verandas. And to me, that's not a veranda. That's not a balcony. That's a window. And really, truly it is. It's just a window. And so your cabin is a little bigger and you have this window that can go up and down. But she pointed out in her video that the captain has the ability to close those windows if necessary for certain weather conditions and sea conditions, and you can't open it even if you want to. So that's kind of a bummer. So I just don't like those, and I don't think I would enjoy that room. And so I was really kind of turned off to that class of ships anyway. So I think if I'm going to try Celebrity, but then, sorry, she pointed out that Celebrity has a lot of multi-level spaces and a lot of steps and ramps. Now, if you've been following along with my channel for a while, you know that I have an ankle injury, which has become a permanent disability. I injured my ankle over 2 years ago. And my biggest problem is I can't walk down steps. So I can go up steps because when you go up steps, you use your calves. But when you go down steps, you use certain ligaments in your feet, which mine is wrecked. So I can't go down steps. I can't walk down steps. And so when she said that in the video, I was really glad she mentioned that, because that kind of, nope, I'm not going to go on that ship, because she said there were ways that you could get from level to level, but you'd have to walk a really, really long way down a hallway to get to an elevator or whatever. And so that kind of turned me off even more. So I do think if we try Celebrity, we will go on the Solstice class or the Millennium class. Is that right? The older classes of ships, which again are still beautiful, very nice ships. What do you guys think? Have you been on Celebrity? Do you have a favorite class of ship on Celebrity? Tell me about it in the comments. Okay, the second cruise line that I'm really eager to try, and I did a poll asking people which one. I had 4 of them, but I forgot one on that poll. And in the poll, they were almost an even split. It was like 1/4 of people were most interested in one of each of the 4 that I said. So that wasn't very helpful. But the second one I would really like to try is Cunard. Cunard is actually owned by the Carnival Corporation, but it's a British-based cruise line, and they have the only true transatlantic ocean liner that was built with a reinforced hull and is designed to withstand the cold temperatures and high winds and waves of the North Atlantic. And they have a regularly scheduled transatlantic crossing between Southampton and New York. And I'm very interested in doing that transatlantic crossing. I think that would be something we would really like. And we would really like the Britishness, if you will, of Cunard. And Cunard does do other cruises too. So, I mean, they have several ships, and I'd be curious to try the different ships. The videos that I've seen about Cunard, it really appeals to me. I'm definitely more of a classic traditional cruiser, and that's definitely the case still on Cunard. And the only thing that has me hesitating about Cunard is that for formal night, we love getting dressed up and everything, but my boys would need tuxedos. And unlike, I remember you could rent tuxedos on cruise ships back in the day. Does anybody know if any cruise line still does that? When we went on Explorer of the Seas on our honeymoon, my husband could have rented a tuxedo on the ship, but he didn't. He actually bought his tuxedo that he wore in our wedding and used that for his formal wear when we went on cruises after that. So, which was only 2. But does anybody know if any cruise line still rents tuxedos? We would want to participate in formal night. And like Megan and I have evening wear, but my boys do not own tuxedos. Now, it's fairly likely, I would guess that my older son who's in law school will probably, he has to have a lot of suits and everything because he's going to be an attorney. And even now he needs them for things. And I suspect that he will probably add a tuxedo to his wardrobe, just because of kind of events and things that he's probably going to have to attend. But like for Ben, is he still are you still growing?
Yeah.
He's already so tall, but he's still probably growing. And it kind of pains me to spend the money to buy him a tuxedo that he's not going to be able to wear for very long. So if we go on Cunard on a longer cruise where we're going to have a formal night or two, I would probably want to wait a little bit until Ben is at least at his full height. I make sure they're all as tall as they're going to get before I invest in tuxedos, because that's an expensive investment. If you're going to buy a tuxedo, you want to have it for a long time. So, okay. Next one is Holland America line. Holland America is also owned by Carnival Corporation. We do have a Holland America cruise, a Canada cruise, Eastern Canada cruise out of Boston, booked for this summer. So you can look forward to that on the channel. Now, get this. We're going on the smallest Holland America ship that they have, and my kids are actually very excited about it. I made a video about this too. We like smaller ships. They were actually kind of turned off and a bit disappointed by the biggest ship in the world. We went on Harmony of the Seas last May for Megan's birthday, and they could kind of take it or leave it. And Ben has said he doesn't want to go on big, huge mega ships anymore. And I don't particularly care for them either. There's some unique problems with having that many people on a ship. So we're going on the smallest ship in Holland America's fleet, and we're actually very excited and looking forward to that. I really like the traditional cruising atmosphere of Holland America too. I think the ships look very elegant and very tasteful. They have a lot of live music. So that's another cruise line that I really want to try. And again, if you've been on Holland America, do you have a favorite ship? How do you like Holland America? Do you have any tips for us? Leave them in the comments, please. Okay, next cruise line that I want to try is Princess. We're very eager to try Princess. Unfortunately, we had 2 Princess cruises booked this year and had to cancel both of them. The first one was supposed to be this month. We were booked on Diamond Princess. Yes, that Diamond Princess. We were booked on Diamond Princess for a West Coast cruise. And then I had it all booked. I had it all paid for. And then I realized that Megan's J-term exam is the day before the cruise. And we always fly into our cruises at least the day before. And we couldn't get a flight late enough that day. We didn't know what time her test was going to be. And especially flying to the West Coast, I would not want to risk it, and there's not enough flights, nonstop flights between Minneapolis, and that was out of San Diego. It was just too tricky. And so we switched that one with the Navigator of the Seas cruise that we're taking out of Los Angeles instead. So it's a shorter cruise. We realized that this little break that Megan has between her J-term class ending and her spring semester starting is not quite a week long. So we can't plan to do 7-night cruises in that space because she doesn't have enough time. So we have to do shorter cruises there. So that's what we're doing instead. So that Princess cruise got canceled, unfortunately, but I just took the money and booked the Navigator of the Seas cruise instead. And then we were planning on going on Discovery Princess to Alaska, a round trip Seattle inside passage with my dad and my oldest son this summer. We ran into 2 problems with that. One is my oldest son does not think he'll be able to go because he is going to need to do like an internship and stuff this summer with law school. And then I couldn't pay it off in time. It was $11,000 for the 5 of us in 2 rooms. And I realized as the new year turned over, I had only paid like $4,000 on it. And I had to pay it off by March 13th, and I just don't have the money. So that was a pretty expensive cruise. There are definitely less expensive cruises to Alaska. And so we've started looking into that. And so we're hoping to do an Alaska cruise in the next couple of years. And I would like to do an Alaska cruise on Princess or Holland America. I will tell you, in my research, I have found that, and I talked about this in my last live stream, Royal Caribbean is the least expensive cruise line to Alaska, even cheaper than Carnival. So if you are looking for a less expensive cruise to Alaska, and go back and watch my live stream, I did put chapters on the bottom so you can skip to that part. I gave some tips about how to find a less expensive Alaska cruise. A lot of it has to do with your dates. The earlier in the season you can go, if you can go right at the beginning of the season or right at the end of the season in September, those are going to be your cheapest Alaska cruises. But we're kind of, my kids can't go then because they're in school. So that kind of restricts us. So we have Alaska off on the, in the future list. But we do have a Princess cruise booked for 2024 on Sky Princess. So we're excited about that one. And that one you can look forward to next year. Okay. Megan especially really wants to try Princess. I think she'll really like that one. Okay, and then the last one I have on my list of cruise lines that I really want to try is Viking Ocean Cruises. Now, Viking River Cruises has been in business for a long, long time. They're one of the best, most reputable, highest praised river cruise lines in Europe and everything. And I think they're even bringing river ships over here to North America now. But they started not too many years ago, Viking Ocean Cruises. And they're a Scandinavian line, and they are an independently owned company. They're not associated with any other cruise line. And I just really like the look of Viking. The cruise with Ben and David a few years back did a cruise on Viking where they went all the way up in Norway. And it just really appeals to me. I love those clean lines, that Scandinavian look. They also have a pretty big educational component on Viking that really appeals to me. I really like, what's the word I'm looking for? Enrichment programs that they have on cruise ships, or where you can learn something while you're on the cruise. Even learning about the ship or about, nautical history or whatever. I really find that stuff interesting. So when they have enrichment type programs on cruise lines, that really appeals to me. And Viking definitely has a big element of that. Okay, a drawback to Viking for us is they do have a minimum age to sail of 18 on their ocean cruises. So we'll have to wait to go on Viking. I'll either have to go on a Viking cruise without Ben, with the other kids maybe, or we have to wait till Ben turns 18 and then we can all go on a Viking cruise. So those are the 5 cruise lines that I am most excited to try. Have any of you cruised on any of these cruise lines? Celebrity, Cunard, Holland America, Princess, or Viking Ocean Cruises? I would really appreciate hearing your feedback on these different cruise lines in the comments below. And also, I'd really love to hear, what cruise lines are you most excited to try? Leave those in the comments below. Do you have different ones than what I said? Okay, does anybody have any questions? We've had people coming and going this whole time, but does anybody have any cruise or travel questions, or any questions for me? Anybody curious about taxes and YouTube? Anybody have any feedback about any of these cruise lines that I mentioned? Okay, this is my frustration. When I did my poll asking what do you guys, my viewers, want to see more of on my channel, the number one by far response was live Q&As. People really wanted live Q&As. And this is, every time I try to do a live Q&A, nobody shows up. Nobody shows up and nobody asks any questions. I can't do a live Q&A, folks, if nobody asks me any questions. So it's kind of frustrating. And I do get, people do seem to like the longer videos. A lot of people really like, hour-long videos or whatever, and they'll watch them afterwards. And I'll get a decent number of comments afterwards, but I can't seem to find I don't know what the problem is. I've tried all different days of the week. I've tried different times of day. This was the time that people said was the best time for them, was Sunday evening. And still, I'm not getting any comments. I'm not getting any questions. So it's just, I don't know what to do. I don't want to keep, it's kind of lonely for me to keep trying and not have people participate. Viking cruises leave at the same time and block the view. You're talking about the river cruises. And that's true about all river cruises in Europe. River cruises in Europe, they all dock together right in the city center of the cities that they go to, that they visit, which is really great because unlike on a lot of ocean cruises where you might be miles from the city center, you're right there. You can literally walk off and, take a bike or walk or whatever to the interesting stuff to see. But the river boats in Europe do dock right next to each other. They might dock 5 deep, and you actually walk onto other river cruise boats and through them to get on and off. So yeah, when they're docked, there's no view but you're not, river cruises are very, very different than ocean cruises. River cruises, you move down the river for the most part at night. And during the day, they're docked in a city and you're off the boat. There's very little to do on a river cruise ship. The destination is the attraction. So I don't know why you would be sitting in your room on your river cruise ship looking out at when you're docked. So I hope that answers the question. But on ocean cruises, no, that's not the thing. But that's true that's not just Viking, that's all of them. All river cruises in Europe are like that. Holland America from a cost standpoint. Well, I got an absolutely great deal on our Holland America cruise that I booked. Again, all of the ones I listed here are premium lines. So they're going to be slightly more expensive than the mainstream lines, Carnival, Norwegian. But you know what? Even that isn't true. Norwegian is really expensive. Are you guys seeing that? Norwegian is very expensive, especially for balconies. I don't like their pricing on Norwegian at all. Norwegian must really be struggling with the pandemic debt because, there's been all this stuff in the news about they're cutting the entertainment, canceling whole shows on the ships and everything. And I've seen a lot of talk in the cruise community about people canceling their Norwegian cruises, saying they're not happy with the things Norwegian is doing. They're very pricey. Honestly, I feel like they're comparable with anything else. So much of cruise pricing, it's not just a set thing. There's so many variables that go into the price of a cruise. Number one is your dates. Number two is, when you go, the price can be completely different than a different date. The other thing is, how long is the cruise? The longer the cruise, the more it's going to cost. But the longer the cruise, the less the price might be per day. And what kind of room are you getting? Are you getting an inside room? Are you getting an outside with a window or a porthole? Are you getting a balcony? Are you getting a suite? The price is going to vary completely depending on what kind of room you're getting. How many people are going? If you're going by yourself, you're going to pay for 2 people anyway, because all cruises are, except for the very few solo staterooms on some of the mainstream cruise lines, it's double occupancy. That's how they're priced. You have to pay the single or solo supplement, which basically means you're just paying for 2 people, even if you're by yourself. So, but like on the Holland America that we booked, I booked during a wave season promotion, January, and Ben is free. So I'm basically paying. So it really depends on so many factors. And that's true for any cruise line. So, I am paying a 1/5 for that 8-night Holland America cruise for 3 of us over what I was going to pay for the 7-night Alaska cruise on Princess, even though those are sister companies. They're both owned by Carnival Corporation and they're basically equivalent. And so it completely depends. And like Alaska itself, Alaska cruises are expensive because the season is so short. And I think they have a lot of port fees. No, that's not true at all. Holland America actually has a ton of entertainment. They don't have any big like Broadway style shows, but they're famous for their music, for their live music, and they have lots of live music. And they do have production shows and stuff like that too. Yeah, so, and again, it's going to depend on the ship. Different ships have different things. The more ports you have on a cruise, the less entertainment you're going to see on the ship, because it's not worth it for them to put on big shows when everybody's off the ship doing something else in port. Okay, so I think I'm actually going to wrap it up tonight because there's not really anybody here. But I just don't know if I'm going to continue with the live Q&As, guys. Even though everybody seems to want them, I'm not getting questions. So it's not a dialogue like what I would hope for live Q&As. So if you want to make another suggestion for time, but this was Sunday evening was the most popular suggestion that people had made to me. And I posted in advance that this live stream was going to happen for a week in advance. So there was plenty of opportunity to know about it, but I'm just not sure I'm going to continue trying them since we're not getting any participation, which is a bummer. But maybe I'll try again when I get lots more viewers. I don't know. Ben was just saying earlier, right before this, that lots of creators are complaining that their views are way down. We don't know what's going on, if this is just post-holiday slump or what, but yeah, it's a bummer for us as creators. So thank you for those of you who did take the time to join today and to watch this video. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I will answer those for you. Have a great day, everyone, and safe travels.